You have something I want. You may think you have some idea what you are in possession of, but you do not. Soon, he will be back with me.
I think I need to stay off of Twitter. There's so much infighting going on about this show right now. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are disconnected and indifferent about it, like myself. I saw a comment about it basically saying that if you don't like The Mandalorian, you may have misguided expectations, basically saying your expectations are too high. They went on to say that people should take it for what it is, and that's an adventure of the week type show. So that does basically confirm my feelings about this show and why people like it. It also confirms that if you're not concerned with things like plot, canon, or continuity, that The Mandalorian can be somewhat enjoyable for you. But being a reviewer, I myself have to think about these things. It's part of the job. And honestly, from my perspective, those things matter to me. You have much different feelings about content when you look at it as a critic, as opposed to looking at it as a fan. I think it also has a lot to do with your level of fandom as well. If lore is important to you, then you most likely will not enjoy The Mandalorian. If you're just looking for something with Star Wars in the title to entertain you for an hour, then you probably will like The Mandalorian. It's interesting that this episode was about perspective and how you view things from that perspective. And I think that's what's happening with this show right now, is people are just looking at it from different perspectives. The bottom line is that I'm going to continue to be honest from my perspective because that's all I can do. And if people can't handle that, well, that's their problem. So this episode starts basically with Cara Dune getting Bill Burr a weekend pass from prison.
See how you needed me a little more than you thought, huh, Mr. K?
I decided you as good a chance as I got. That shows you how desperate I am.
This episode was basically 48 hours in space, but not as funny. You got good guys trying to catch the bad guy, so they get another bad guy out of prison to help them catch the bad guy. And then you have a good guy and a bad guy basically kind of teaming up, and they don't really like each other at first, but kind of gain mutual admiration for each other by the end of it.
Now get this. We ain't partners. We ain't brothers and we ain't friends.
But the plan is to get him out, do what they gotta do, and then bring him back. Bill Burr says he can find Gideon's ship using his Empire connections, but he needs to find a terminal in which to locate it. The closest terminal is a remnant base that also doubles as a refinery. So the adventure this week is to break into this base and access that terminal. Once they arrive, Bill Burr and Mando do their best Han and Luke impression. They dress up like troopers and hijack a transport in order to infiltrate the base. On the way there, Bill Burr lectures Mando about the inconsistencies with his rules about taking off his helmet. He asks him, is it that you can't take off your helmet, or you just can't take off your helmet in front of people? I'm not gonna lie, I asked the same question not 2 minutes before he said this. Because he does kind of sneak off and take his armor off and then put on the trooper outfit. But I was always kind of under the impression that he can't take the armor off at all. All this is leading to a later decision that Mando has to make, and we'll get to that in a moment. On the way to the base, they are attacked by local pirates, and they're eventually saved by stormtroopers and TIE fighters. I guess this was done to show that members of the Empire have some level of humanity. We've never really seen them hanging out and celebrating a victory, which goes back to Bill Burr's original point. It's all about perspective, and we get to see the Empire from a different perspective that we've never seen before. I don't know if it was necessary to show the Empire this way, but it certainly was different, so I'll give them that. So the terminal is in the mess hall, and there's an officer in the mess hall that Bill Burr knows, so he's hesitant to go in. Mando jumps at the chance to access the terminal himself, but one caveat is that he will have to remove his helmet so the terminal can scan his face in order for it to work. So after very little hesitation, he goes to the terminal and removes his helmet, kind of unceremoniously. And we see Pedro Pascal, clear as day, no shadows, nothing obstructing his face, and we see this for several minutes in this episode. I have to admit, this felt kind of abrupt and anticlimactic. First of all, I don't know if it was a good idea to reveal his face anyway, because part of his character is the mystery that surrounds him. It honestly kind of felt like Kylo Ren taking off the mask in Force Awakens. It wasn't the moment that it could have been. It was just kind of undersold, to be honest. Not just that, but Bill Burr ultimately ends up entering the room anyway, so not only does the reveal feel a bit anticlimactic, it feels unnecessary as well. Mando essentially abandoned his whole belief system after one Bill Burr lecture about his inconsistent rules. I understand he's desperate right now to get back Grogu, but I don't know, this just didn't work for me. So Bill Burr gets all worked up talking to this officer about an operation they were both involved in where a lot of people died, and the officer isn't showing much remorse. The officer downplays it all and talks about how the galaxy is eventually going to turn back to the Empire because they are going to want some kind of order at some point. I agree with that because it's shown every day how people will follow anyone just for some level of stability in their mind, no matter how evil those leaders might be. Burr ends up getting pissed off and he shoots the officer, so they have to make their escape, aided by Boba Boba Fett in Slave One. Once they escape altogether, they decide to lie and say that Burr was actually killed at the refinery in order to basically reward him and let him go. This is where it deviates a little bit from 48 hours because Eddie definitely went back to jail.
What's your fucking problem?
This leads us to a very questionable strategic move by Mando. So they have Gideon's coordinates, and instead of using that information for a surprise attack or some kind of ambush, Mando decides to FaceTime him and basically tell him that he's coming. I hope this is part of a greater plan because in the moment, it makes Mando look kind of stupid.
It's bullshit. Too fucking stupid to have a job.
I guess he would have found out about the attack on the base anyway, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that was Mando and he has information on Gideon. Bottom line is that this episode wasn't as much of a canon breaker as previous episodes, so that is a bonus. We do get a little bit more about the world itself and how things are being regulated post-Empire. There's no Baby Yoda in this episode, which is kind of surprising considering the cash cow that he is to them. As I mentioned, I didn't care for the face reveal all that much and it could have been done a lot better. This episode just proved to be another adventure of the week, and it was largely uninteresting and boring to me. I understand that this is a stepping stone to get to somewhere else, but when they only have 8 episodes in a season, you would think they would have to use that time more efficiently and have a lot less filler. I'm still finding it difficult to get invested in anything that is going on. I just don't think they are properly building the plot or the characters in this story. So let me know what you thought about the latest episode of The Mandalorian. Did you like it? Did you hate it? I'd love to have a discussion down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Y'all be cool. Right on.